And on the crude oil export started in 1974 when there was an oil crisis in 1973. The oil crisis began when OPEC declared an oil embargo against the US and its allies. The oil prices per barrel went from $3 to $12. The energy starve caused many Western countries to have an economic crash. By creating EPCA. The objective of EPCA include increasing domestic energy production, in turn reduce energy demand, energy efficiency, and to give executive branch more power so that they can deal with the disruption of energy supply. EPCA also established corporate average fuel economy, energy conservation program for consumer products, and strategic petroleum reserve. It has been 41 years since the ban on the export of crude oil, and many oil companies want the government to revisit the issue. There are concerns and outcomes of lifting the ban on the export of crude oil. One of the concerns is that the gas prices will increase or decrease. Another is how the environment will be affected. Another is U.S. refineries will not be able to buy oil at a discounted price domestically. The outcome of lifting the ban on the export of crude oil is it will help the economy by selling the oil on international market and create more jobs as more wells are drilled and more refineries.
Before we can discuss the ban on exports, we have to discuss the difference between WTI and Brent crude oils. WTI represents the domestic pricing, while Brent represents the pricing abroad. WTI crude oil is a high-quality oil with an API gravity of 29.6 and a low sulfur content of 0.24. Brent crude oil, on the other hand, is of a lesser quality with a lower API gravity and a higher sulfur content. With the introduction of new drilling methods such as horizontal drilling and fracking, production domestically has gone up. With the ban still intact, WTI has seen a discount in pricing, falling behind Brent by $10 to $25 per barrel. This will in turn crowd out imports of lighter crude oils. The ceasing of imports will shift the marginal rate to crude oils with an API of 35. This will benefit refiners capable of refining lighter crude oils since they will purchase the oil at a discounted price. Other refiners will still have to import their crude oils and will not see the effects of the discounts. Experts argue that the lifting of the ban would be an environmental issue since higher production will lead to higher consumption and therefore greater greenhouse gases. Studies show that the lifting of the ban will lead to even higher productions ranging from 100,000 to 2 million more barrels per day. Projections also show that lifting the ban will decrease gas prices if all other variables such as the reaction from OPEC remains consistent with pre-ban conditions.
So the oil industry is divided into three different sectors: the upstream, midstream, and downstream. The upstream has to do with getting the oil from the reservoir to surface. The midstream has to do with getting the oil from surface to the refineries. And the third one, and the downstream, would be the refineries and the production of petroleum products and the marketing of the oil. The effect of the ban on the midstream is what we're mainly going to be talking about. Since the midstream has to do with the transportation of the oil, then the effect would be directly towards the midstream, because once we ban exporting the oil from inside the country to outside of the country to foreign countries, we pretty much cut half of the midstream sector. The benefit of the ban goes towards the downstream sector of the oil industry, because the refineries are the ones who are purchasing the oil from upstream sectors. And once the upstream sectors can't export the oil and the midstream sectors can't make any benefit on exporting the oil, then all the benefit goes to downstream, because they get to get this oil with zero competition price. Because if they can't export it, they really can't do anything other than selling it to the downstream and the domestic refineries. To talk more about the effects of the ban on the midstream sector, we have to see what it really hurts in the midstream sector. The midstream sector uses pipelines and coastal ports to transport the oil. With the ban intact, the exportation of the crude oil is banned. So they can't use the ports to export anything or the pipelines. They can only use it to import it. This cuts half of the potential money that they can make off of these facilities, which to investors' eyes is a loss of money. So it kind of cuts away some of the investments that could go towards these facilities and the money that could be pumped in the midstream sector.
After the 1970 oil shock, the concept of energy security was introduced to maintain a steady supply of energy and stabilize oil prices to a preferably low price. Oil prices can vary based on geopolitical, economic, and other factors that have their impact on the macroeconomic level. Outcomes such as unemployment and reduced investment after times of high volatility can be counteracted by setting a fixed oil price, giving more freedom in trading commodities and higher fungibility. Fungibility can be obtained with the use of inventories that enable intertemporal arbitrage, and having more trading partners introduces spatial arbitrage that gives more freedom when executing potential trades, and therefore working as a backup plan for other regions with insufficient oil supplies.
In conclusion, with the new drilling techniques and many researches suggesting that lifting the ban of crude oil export will benefit the U.S. economy significantly.